Hey everyone, welcome back to Tactical Magic. This is Molly Mandelberg, your host. I know I say this every time, but I'm very excited for the guest that we have today. And I really do mean it every time. We've had Ann Hession on the show before. So if you want to, you can go back and listen to the first episode we did, but this one, you could also just listen to this standalone. Ann and I share a passion for helping healers, magical, spiritual, sometimes deep, wise people who are often great at what they do and often not great at marketing or sales, talking about what they do, helping people find their way to hiring them and signing up to do those back end and sometimes front end sides of their business better so that more people can receive their healing magic in the world. So that's what we're going to talk about. Hold on just a second. We'll be right back. It's not just about mastering technology. It's not just about brand or messaging. It's not just about making more money. It's about showing up in a big way so your people can find you. This is about bringing your most wild and authentic self into the hustle and grind. Welcome to Tactical Magic, a business strategies podcast for the warrior goddess entrepreneur. All right. Ann Hession is a heart-centered sales expert who helps healers and soulpreneurs who have amazing gifts for the world, but are allergic to sales and selling. As a medical intuitive and energy healer with over 30 years experience in transformational healing and a sales expert who's personally sold millions of dollars of products and services, she's uniquely qualified to help heart-based business owners transform their relationship to sales so they can confidently and easily grow their business without ever feeling fake, pushy, or salesy. Welcome to the show, Ann.
Glad to be here.
Yes, happy to have you here. So tell us a little bit about how these people, hopefully those people who are listening, we want to start by just acknowledging the hell out of you, because this world would not be where we are right now, and it would not be going to where we all know that it's going, this paradigm shift, this beauty and magic that's unfolding amidst the chaos, if it weren't for these people. So we honor and acknowledge that in all of you. But what do you often see with our beautiful heart-centered healers and practitioners when it comes to sales?
So, well, I think that it's funny. There's so many ways to answer that, but the first one that came to me is like, no sales. Because what I've noticed is, I think truly for most people who would identify themselves as healers, their fundamental relationship to sales is avoidance. It's just like, let's just pretend that's not something I need to do. Like, I'll work on my website. I'll work on this. I'll, take another course. I'll do anything but have the actual sales conversation with someone. Right. And I actually like to use the word sales instead of softer things like enrollment or this or that, because I'm on a little bit of a mission to desensitize people. Because sales can be amazing and fun and juicy and spiritual and healing, and all of those things if you're doing it from the heart and you learn the fundamentals. There's like some fundamental skills that you need. So one of the main things I see is that people are really they're focused on every other part of their business except this, because they're so uncomfortable. And the problem with that is that sales is the only part of your business where you actually make money. And so if you're avoiding the only part where you actually make money, it doesn't work very well.
It doesn't work very well for making money. There's probably other things that it works for, like, feeling like you're set up on the back end. But yeah, if you can't actually have those conversations, and I know there's plenty of reasons why we have that aversion to sales. And I'm sure you used to have it. I used to have it. We start in that place because it
used to make me nauseous.
Right. It used to make me very uncomfortable. Even just talking to people as if I had something to offer them felt so uncomfortable at the start, right? Because we have all this conditioning, and it's changing more because people like you and I are on a mission to radically change how this is done. But it comes from a logical place. We've seen too many people pushing, coercing, and, blasting with the energy of closing a sale or the energy of treating someone like a number on their bank report or whatever. And that doesn't feel good to us. And so what I love about what you're doing in the world is you're telling us there's a different way to do it. There's a different way to come at it. What are some of the aspects that are different that make heart-centered sales so much more impactful?
Well, one of the ways that I like to talk about it, and if anyone is listening, if you've actually done any sales training, or at least, and this I would say most sales training out there, most sort of traditional sales, I've done a lot of it, right? So I've actually gone and like worked for companies and done sales for them. And I did that, by the way, I did that on purpose, not because I really was interested in that, but because I knew that I had to learn sales if I was going to be able to do what I wanted to do for a living, which is the like healing and coaching work I do. So I just basically, really short version, when I realized I had to learn how to do it, I was like, well, I might as well get paid to learn how to do it. So I like went and got a like 100% commission sales job. And then I got another one, right? So I went through all that, right? And I learned some amazing, wonderful things that I still use. And I also learned some things that I'm like, yeah, that's not for me. That doesn't work. And that's kind of what I want to talk about in terms of what you're just saying. Yeah. I think a lot of traditional sales, not all, but a lot of it, it's it's coming from a very like male energy. Right. It's coming from, I call it kind of high testosterone, and not knocking male energy. It's a wonderful thing, but it doesn't work for like the heart-centered connection type stuff that we're talking about for sales. So if I'm going to really bottom line that, the male energy is about the transaction. Right. It's like, let's get her done. Right. Let's get that done. And the female energy is about the relationship. Right. So heart-centered sales is really grounded in more of the feminine energy. And basically, it's about always putting the relationship before the transaction. And that's really the fundamental difference.
Yeah, which is huge.
It's huge. And you can tell. You can tell when someone is putting the transaction before you, and you can tell when they're putting you before the transaction.
That's such a huge thing. I just want to emphasize that. What does that look like in practice? I mean, it can be as simple as saying, okay, let's just take this off the table right now and just talk. Because there's this energy there sometimes, and you can perceive it in someone you're talking to. If they're starting to lean out, or they're starting to feel like, oh, you just want to get me as a client, or there's even some on your end of the line, some desperation of like, yes, I really want this person as a client. Yeah. That's a good time to notice that. Let me just take this off the table for a minute. Let's reconnect as people. What is actually in this person's highest good? And what can I ask them to make them come to their own awareness of whether this is for them or not? And having that place of alignment be so much more important, whether it's actually a fit rather than how bad you need the sale or how bad you want this person to sign up for that, to make it really more about, is this in their highest good? And if it is, being willing to stay there and take a stand for them and ask them whatever you need to ask them so that they get clear on that, if you're clear on that too.
Yeah, 100%. It really is. Sales really is service when you're doing it properly. It's about helping people get really clear about where they are, which a lot of times, by the way, they're not clear, right? They know they're suffering in some way, or these things aren't working for them, but they don't necessarily, there's a lot often that they don't know about what's going on with them right now, even, right? So sometimes just getting asking good questions that help them get really clear about that, asking questions that help them figure out what they want, which, by the way, also a lot of times people don't really know what they want, right? And then sales is really about, there's a gap there between those two things, right? And if you're very in a caring and loving way, helping create the clarity about where they are and the clarity about where they want to be, then sale, if what you have to offer can fill that gap. And if it can't, that's a whole different conversation. Then you might recommend something else to them. But if it can, because you've created that gap is now clear to both of you, and then you're just offering a bridge. You're offering a way for them to get from where they are to where they want to be.
That was such a beautiful simplification of how that conversation can go. I mean, that's really all it is.
That's really all it is.
Are you in this place? And is this where we're trying to get to? And does your program bridge those two things or not? If it does, that's a conversation to stay in and fight for. And if it isn't, then that's when you make a referral to one of your
you say like, so I'm not really the person for you, but I know someone who is, or I recommend you check this out, or whatever. Sometimes I just recommend a book to someone. It's just like, that seems like, that's the thing that's sort of missing for where you are right now, is there's something you need to learn here, and maybe we'll talk some more after, whatever it is, right? Yeah. But here's the thing. I remember I said, ask questions. That's why good sales is mostly asking questions rather than telling people things.
So along those lines, what are some of the places where we mess up these conversations, or where we derail or lose it?
Yeah. So usually it's right at the beginning. So there's this thing, and I call it the tell me more trap, and I'll tell you why. So let's say you're talking with someone and they want to find out some more, what you do, either maybe because they actually contacted you, maybe they were referred to you, so they contacted you to find out about what you do. Or maybe you met them in some other context. And, you met them at a party or whatever, and then you started, and eventually what you do comes up, as it tends to do. And so, they want to find out more. So they'll often say, right, yeah, like, tell me more about that, or tell me how that works, or how'd you get into that? Something where they're inviting you to tell them more. So what tends to happen then is our brain goes a little crazy because we're like, oh my God, they're interested. Thank God. And then, what do most people tend to do right then?
Overtalk and tell them all.
Yeah, right. Just like fire hose the other person. And first of all, we've all had that done to us. We're like at a networking event or a party, and we're like, oh my God, I did not want all of that. Right. But we've also all done it to other people. So that's where it's a trap that they set for you, but they're stuck in it too. Yeah. Right. So the most important thing you do, like literally, if this is the only thing you change, it'll still make a huge difference, is when someone asks you to tell them more about what you do, to just say, instead of saying anything about what you do, instead of telling them more, right? You say some version of like, oh, I'd love to, but just, tell me what interests you about it, right? Or I'd love to tell you more. What got your attention? What do you want to know? Something like that. Because if you don't do that, what you're going to do is give them way more than they're interested. First of all, you don't know why they're interested. You don't know why they asked, right? It's a big mistake to assume it's because they want to work with you. They might just be kind of generally curious. They might just be polite. They might have a friend who is kind of interested in what you do. It could be anything. So if you don't say like, oh yeah, I'd love to tell you more, but first let me ask what interests you about it, the odds of you giving them the information that they want are like slim to none. Right?
Whereas if you ask that question,
and then you listen to the answer, yeah, it's a whole different thing. And so truly, like, even if that's the only change you make, it's going to make a huge difference. Yeah. It's going to keep you from,
word vomiting all over them. Yeah. Well, and it makes so much sense too, because they're asking you to tell me more. But in order to know what kind of more to tell them, because we have so much to say about our businesses and our beautiful magic trick, you're basically giving them the opportunity first to give you what lens through which to talk to. So like, here, you tell me what lens you want to hear it through. You have a friend who might need this, or you've been struggling with something. Now I know exactly, not just maybe which offering to tell you about of all these beautiful things I have, because many of us are those do lots of stuff kind of people.
Right.
But you're also hearing from them, like, which angle to go through. So yeah, that's beautiful. Mind reading.
Yeah, they might just have like a friend in mind that they're thinking they might want to refer you to. But if you instead you basically jump into trying to sell them, that's just going to turn them off, and you're not even going to get the referral. Right. It's such an important thing to get, because the reality is that healers in particular, as a group, we don't do what we do because we do it because we love it, right? We found this thing, and it is, like you said, it's like this magic. It's this amazing thing. We absolutely love it. We're totally passionate about it. And because of that, we can geek out on it for hours. Right? Couldn't you just talk for hours about what you do?
Probably. I have a podcast.
Right. Totally. Right. You could just keep going. And it's like, they don't want that. So we have to recognize that it's not someone else who does what we do who's asking. Because if it was, it'd be, yeah, the two of you could just totally geek out on it for a long time. Yeah. It's someone who is new to it. And most of what you want to say, 98% of what you want to say to them, they really don't want to hear.
Yeah. And that brings up this awareness that I have that I know is really important, that I'm sure you also talk about, which is that the modality isn't really the sexy part about what you do.
Yes, so not at all.
Will you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, because we're like, well, you do this and then you do this, and it came from this, and it has roots in 6,000-year-old tradition, and it's, whatever it is, right? And to us, that's fascinating. To them, that's just confusing. So the conversation needs to be about them, not about our thing, what we do. And anything that is about the thing that we do, it isn't about how we do it. It's more about what is it, how does it benefit them? Like what kind of results do people get? And that's why you need to, so like, remember I said, it's mostly about you asking questions and only a little bit about you saying anything. You can't customize what you're saying unless you're asking questions to find out, again, about what they're interested in. And then let's assume it is someone who might be interested in working with you. And so they might share a little bit when you ask, what interests you about it? Oh, well, I've been dealing with this. I've been wondering if something like that might help me, or let's say it's something like that. You need to keep asking questions, things like, well, how long has that been going on? What else have you tried for it? What's that? How's that impacting you? Right. So you're making the conversation all about them. Right. And then, very, very little about, that's the sort of thing that I help people with. It's as simple as that. Not, well, I do this, and then there's a magnet, and then there's this, and then there's a thing, and then we readjust your chakra or whatever it is, whatever it is that we do it. So it's really about, we want to talk about the how, and they only care about the what.
Valuable distinction right there. So what are you going to get out of it, really? What's the result? What's the likelihood I'm going to have a different state of being in my life if I go through with this is really the only thing they care about. They don't care at all about what's going to happen when they walk in the door.
Exactly. Yeah. And one of the best ways in terms of things that you can't, if you're like, well, if I get a message, ask questions, and what can I say? Right. So you can say, a tiny bit about the how, but one of the best ways to still make it about them is to actually tell stories. Mm-hmm. Right. So, one of the most important things that you want to do is have a collection, have your little story vault, right, of stories. You also want to have actual testimonials, right? Testimonials, the distinction would be testimonials are in the point of the voice of the person they happen to, right? So they're writing it, but you can take that same testimonial or someone that you worked with and you didn't get a testimonial for them, and you can tell a story about them, right? So I had a client who was dealing with a really similar thing, and this is, right? So when you tell a story, what happens is that people kind of imagine themselves in the story, right? And so they're subconsciously, they feel like they're getting the benefits that whoever was in the story, or the bad things of whoever was in the story. So it's a way to kind of talk a little bit about what you do, but in a way that subconsciously they still feel like it's about them. Yeah, so that's one of the reasons stories are so huge.
They're so huge, and they do a couple things. Not only do they give the person listening that experience of, oh, I could have that. Oh, that's possible. Oh, you're working with you might do that to me. Like, amazing. Yep. They start to see themselves in it. Yep. It also positions you in a way where you were just this person they were talking to before, and now you're a facilitator that gets results for their clients. So you're suddenly giving them the opportunity to see you in a different light. And that positioning, that ability to see you in that way makes it a lot easier for that person to want to try you out or get on the phone or actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just kind of takes the wall down. It's so they don't, people feel like they have to defend themselves against being sold to, but they don't feel like they have to defend themselves against stories, because we love stories.
Yeah. We want to hear about stuff. Yeah. And still they're going to remain the authority on whether you're the right fit for them. But every conversation you have like that, when you practice putting in a story, when you practice talking about the results, when you practice asking more questions and getting curious instead of falling into the monologue. That every time you do that, you're honing these skills that are going to keep coming in handy every time you go to a networking event, every time you get to speak about what you do, that it's a muscle we have to build to get comfortable with it. And what you and I are attest to, are a testament to, is the more you do that, the more it becomes natural. And that's when that fear factor of doing sales or being a person who runs their business successfully and gets sales, that fear factor starts to go away. And that just becomes a muscle you can use anytime. It becomes something that habitually comes out of your mouth. It
is, because it's a skill. Like it's one of the things that people, I think, when it begins to remember, fundamental relationship to sales is avoidance. So anything you're avoiding, you don't even want to look at it, right? You don't even want to engage with it, with what is it, right? And sales is really just a set of skills, right? That's all it is. So once you kind of get that and you start to learn those skills, then everything shifts for you. You're like, oh, I can actually do this. But you do have, as you're saying, that you don't learn a skill by reading about it, right? You learn a skill by first you read about it or get instructed with it, and then you go and you do it and you screw it up, and then you do it again and you get it better, and then right? And then, but as you do it more and more, eventually you just have the skill. Like it's just, you just have it and no one can take it away from you. You know what you're doing. Just like whatever, healing or coaching work you do, you didn't have all those skills initially. Now you have them. You could probably do them almost in your sleep. Sales can be like that too.
Yeah. Awesome. So I know you have amazing event coming up. Will you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So this is an event. It's called Sold. And I'll tell you how that's spelled.
How it's spelled.
So it's spelled SOUL''D, right? So because it's all about being sold on multiple levels, including that, having that sort of human to human souled connection with someone else. So it's Soul, the heart and soul of sales for healers. So this is a 3-day live online event that is only for healers. Okay. And that is one of the things that makes it unique, because it really is a whole different conversation when it's only healers together, right? And it is a transformational event. It's going to absolutely transform your relationship to sales. It's going to give you some of these core skills. We'll actually be working with the Tell Me More track in great detail, like really going through, because that first step that I gave you of saying, I'd love to tell you more. First, let me ask what interests you. That's just step 1 of 5 or sometimes 6 steps. And we're going to go through all of those in detail. So you're going to leave with your own guide to your own heart-centered sales conversation in the event, but so much more. So this is really for healers who want to actually have a real business, who really want to get that, like you were saying, that there's a different path, right? So there's a different path from sales. It doesn't have to be the yucky, right, male energy path. There's a separate path really though for your whole business. I think for most healers, they're not fundamentally entrepreneurial type people, the majority of them. And so it can be really frustrating and overwhelming, and you just feel like a square peg in a round hole when you're trying to build your business. And essentially, most of the people out there who are genuinely trying to help you build your business, right, and have good stuff, but they're designed to help people who are entrepreneurial, right? They're designed, so they're kind of trying to turn you into an entrepreneur, and that's just not who you and your healer soul are, right? So the Soul event is really about showing you there's a different path where you can create a thriving healing business without having to become, the person with the 6 funnels and the this and that, and you don't have to become that person that you don't want to be. You can actually succeed as a healer doing in this other path.
Yes. And I will say, having been to many, many 3-day events in my time, that there's something magical that happens when you take a ride like that, in the intention of it being a transformational space, in addition to it being about you transforming how you relate to your business and how you operate inside of your business, and how you see yourself as a leader and someone who is here to actually make a difference on a larger scale than maybe you've been willing to dream for yourself before. And showing up to an event like that, especially one held in a container by someone as amazing as Ann, is it can be a huge turning point in your life, not just in your business, but in how you see yourself and how you relate to others and how you do community. Excuse, my little dog is barking in the background. So I highly, highly recommend showing up to Sold and checking this out, especially if you're a healer, especially if you know that there's another level in your business that you're ready to start stepping toward, and to be willing to see this yucky word of sales as something that is a catalyst to not just money coming to you, but to the change you're here to make on the planet being made, being delivered.
Absolutely. Because, honestly, guys, the world needs us. The world needs healers. And seriously, if we are, staying small, not getting the support that we need in order to go big, not necessarily go huge, but at least go bigger, right? Then there's people out there who are literally waiting for you to help them. And you, and I want to help you reach them so that you can make the unique difference in the world that you're here to make.
Yes. Absolutely. So if people are thinking about that, they're not quite sure yet, you had some sort of a free gift that they could check out and see if it's.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, we were talking about the Tell Me More trap, and I said that was just one step, right? So, you can download the short version of the training that will actually take you through all 5 steps of handling the Tell Me More trap. And then also we're going to go into it in a lot more detail in the event, but the short version of the PDF it will really make so much sense to you. I've basically deconstructed the conversation, and you'll be like, oh, that's so much easier than I thought it was.
Yeah. And there's so much going on in those conversations that we're not consciously aware of until we understand like the mechanics of it.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'll say from many years of experience, the template is worth getting. It's worth studying. It's worth looking at. And it's so much different to learn the same template when you're actually practicing it with other people, when you're hearing about the intricacies of it that can't be written on the template, when you're feeling it in practice in an actual conversation, and you have guidance to like re-navigate and try that out. It's a totally different thing. So get the template and don't let that keep you from also going to this event and learning it on like a physical, visceral level.
100%, because we will be actually practicing all the parts of it. And so that you develop that confidence and you start to get like, wow, I can really do this. Like I can really do this. And it's a whole different experience. So yes,
I can do this is just a mantra worth adopting in your business rather than how the hell do I do this? Or like, why can't I do this? I can do this is a different state of being for sure.
100%.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Ann, you're brilliant. I love talking to you. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
You're so welcome. I always have fun with you.
Yeah. And everybody out there, thank you so much for listening. One last question that I love to ask at the end of the show, even though you shared so much wisdom with us already. Are there any last words of wisdom that you want to leave people with?
Yeah, absolutely. I think actually kind of 2 things, right? So one is, I think one of the things that people are really up against, healers especially, when it comes to truly creating a successful business, doing what you love, is this whole issue with sales. And part of what's there is that you feels like it's not you. Like you feel like almost you have to like, who do I have to be? When someone asks what you get triggered, right? They ask, what do you charge? Or how do I work with you? And you're like, I don't even, and you feel like you're not enough, right? Like you can't be yourself in that moment. And I just want you to know it's 100% not true. The thing that's missing from that moment is you being present and knowing you have the skills to handle it. Right. So it's really just like you're everything that moment needs, and you just need to add a few skills. Okay. But you don't need someone else to do it for you. You don't need to become some other kind of person that you don't think you are. You just need to learn a few things. And then the other piece is to just reiterate, the world needs you. There's a reason why you were called to do the work that you do. There's people out there who you're the one for them. You're the one who is going to make the difference for them. And we don't want it to be that they're never going to hear from you or they're never going to connect with you because something held you back, right? So know that there's loving, caring, I got your back support here that's available for you so that you can actually create a thriving business doing the work that you love and really make the difference that you're here to make.
Yes. Awesome. Love it. So we'll put the link to that free gift, that template, and also the link to the event so that you can show up to that and hang out with Ann for a weekend in May.
Yay.
We'll put that in the show notes of this episode so that you have it. And once again, thank you so much out there for listening. We love podcast listeners. We're so grateful. And if you maybe aren't a healer, or maybe you feel like you're already rocking your sales and you want to send this episode to somebody who you know could use it, or who you think might have like another level to their business and you would love to share this episode, please forward this to them. Please take a moment to just share the link and text it to them and say, hey, I liked this conversation, or hey, I've been thinking about this. Do you want to go to this event with me? Or have you thought about this lately? This might be helpful. Do it with acknowledgement and compassion, of course, not saying, I think you need to be better at this.
That'll go over well.
Yeah, I mean, I only started learning about this stuff because someone I met referred me to a sales program that taught me the same skills. So it's through community and through networking, through sharing things that you think are interesting with people, first off, that help us grow into who we're supposed to become as business owners. But also that's how we create these sort of business bestie relationships. And those are the kinds of people you want to have in your life. So if there's somebody you've been like interested in and you think, I want to build a connection with this person, sharing a podcast episode you like might be a good way to build that relationship. Who knows? Awesome.
Absolutely.
So again, thank you. Thank you, Ann. And for everyone out there, keep asking big questions and taking bold action because you are here for a reason. Bye.